Welcome to Steelers Today. He's Dale Lolley, and I'm Dejan Kovacevic. And what an unhappy place this is after a victory.
Yeah.
I mean, downstairs, too. I mean, let's tell everybody what we just experienced. I mean, that was a pretty miserable setting for these players and coaches.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. But in the NFL, there's no such thing as style points, as we saw over the weekend with a number of big favorites losing, including at home in the Dallas Cowboys game.
Oh, you can begin and end with Buffalo at Jacksonville. That's the only example.
At least that one was on the road.
Yeah, but still, no, there's no such thing as on the road in Jacksonville.
Well, that's
everybody
true.
has home field
That's
in Jacksonville, except the Jaguars. The Steelers did win this game 29-27. They did increase their winning streak to 4 games. They did improve their record to 5-3. And I can understand if some things had gone, Chicago's way and you just, had a tough battle and whatever. I mean, the Bears did some decent things in this game. But it's the scope and the nature of the mistakes. And you could tell that was what bugged Mike Tomlin, too.
Yeah, I mean, the fumble on the punt can't happen.
Just can't.
That was such a momentum change.
Ray McLeod, for anybody who doesn't know.
The Steelers had just gotten a sack on third down. They're up 23-13. It looks like they're going to get the ball back, maybe, an opportunity to kind of grind out the clock or at least, eat some clock there. And you give the ball up like that, and it's like, even as we were watching, I'm like, wasn't he down? Like, they're just running with the ball, and I'm like, nobody's signaling anything, and then they signal a touchdown. I'm like, well, I think he's down. And then you look at it.
And you don't want to see 20-yard punts, and you don't want to see missed point after. Not that anybody's picking on Chris Boswell tonight, okay? And there was just some general ugliness. Probably the only thing that didn't happen that would have made it worse would have been an offensive turnover.
Yeah, and they didn't do that.
They didn't do that.
Once again, I don't know how much the shoulder issue that cropped up on the injury report on Friday affected Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, Tomlin said not
I
at
asked
all.
Mike Tomlin, and he said, no, that wasn't a factor. Ben Roethlisberger wouldn't talk about it. But I can tell you that having watched him on Friday, I was kind of surprised that that he played, to be quite frank.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say what I saw in practice, but let's just say I was surprised that I thought there was a very good chance we might see Mason Rudolph in this game, and so I kind of had to hold off on everything I was writing for
all
the
weekend. Preview material, based on who'd be the quarterback. And there were some throws in this game that, regardless of what you think of Ben either tonight or at this stage of his career, that we had not seen in weeks, meaning not good.
Yeah.
Where he just was, there were guys, Dale, right, almost from me to you here, and he wasn't able to get it there.
The throw to James Washington, he completes, a 42-yard pass down the field. But James Washington was 55 yards down the field.
Might have been his worst pass.
And had to come back, 15 yards to catch it. It wasn't his best game, but they won it. It wasn't the defense's best game, but they won it. It wasn't the special teams' best game.
No, it was not the special teams' best game.
But they won it. The offensive line was not good in this game, but they won it. And so, I think at the end of the season, when they add up all the wins and losses, that's when it really matters. They don't ask you how you got to however many wins you got to. They just ask, did you win them?
Yeah, and I asked TJ Watt, by the way, afterward about, when is a win is a win.
A win is a win. It was definitely draining. Long game. I haven't checked how many plays it was, but I'm sure it was a decent amount for the defense, and I'll take a win. We got a short week here, and got to get Heinz Field going crazy again next week. It was insane tonight. I can't give the fans enough credit for how loud and crazy they were tonight. They've been great all season long, and it helps us so much. So hats off to them.
And that's the answer you'd expect right there.
He was really good in this game.
He was outstanding.
3 sacks. He had a big batted pass. I think he had like 8 tackles in the game. He was all over the field.
And they brought pressure. And when you say he was all over the field, you can also pluralize that, because he was also all over Justin Fields. And Fields made plays. There were times you and I in the press box were kind of like, particularly the touchdown.
There's a reason why I
end.
really thought I had that kid ranked as my number 2 quarterback in this year's draft behind Lawrence. And I'll be quite honest, there were times during the season last year when I was looking at that thinking, I might rather have him
than Trevor Lawrence.
The kid, did you see some of those? Like
the throw across his body
that he has?
As we were talking about for the touchdown.
Yeah.
It was a throw across his body.
Rolling to his left
after he escapes what was really good pressure. This wasn't a case of he had all kinds of time back there.
Yeah.
The Steelers were bringing guys. That's why. Oh, wait. We'll get to that in the next segment. Welcome back to Steelers Today, and this program wouldn't be complete if we didn't point out on one hand that they won the game, and on the other hand, that secondary. Dale, I know Arthur Mallette got exposed. I know you shouldn't have nickel guys running by themselves deep downfield.
Against number 1 receivers, which is what Allen Robinson
number 1
is.
receivers, and the Bears saw that the Steelers were not going to get him help.
Yeah.
And they very smartly pursued that. The Steelers never changed that. And Mike Tomlin's explanation afterward was, well, I mean, that's what the price you pay for facing a mobile quarterback. Really? What's been your experience in watching the Steelers against mobile quarterbacks?
You expect them to miss on some of those throws. And to Fields' credit, he hit on some of those throws.
Sure he did.
There were other times in this game. I mean, I remember looking at one point, and he was 5 for 12 passing or something like that. They were obviously affecting what he was doing, moving him off of his spot or keeping. The idea was to keep him in the pocket, enclose him, don't let him escape. That's why there were some people on the live file saying, why isn't there more pressure? Why? They were trying to hem him in. Now, there were a couple times when he got out, and you saw when he rolls, when he gets on the move, that's when he's at his most dangerous because you're putting a defensive back who's in man-to-man coverage, and he's rolling out or even in a zone. They're going to make a decision. Do I go up and go get this guy, or do I stay back here? If you stay back, he's going to be down the field 15 yards before you know what's going on. If you go up on him, the guy has the arm to get it there. I mean, I think he's really going to be a special player in this league. That's why you draft a mobile quarterback. They put your secondary in tough spots once they escape the pocket. The problem was allowing him to escape the pocket.
Well, and also, they're not making plays. I mean, plain and simple. I'm seeing a secondary that's doing a lot of this, where it's the old, I'm going to drop a Harvey Clayton bomb on you all who've been following the Steelers for a long time, but Harvey was the ultimate corner for tackle the catch. And that is something that the Steelers teach and preach. Dick LeBeau did it. Keith Butler does it. But at the same time, there are occasions where you want to be at least a little bit aggressive. Get the football. Cam Hayward is now tied for the team lead in picks.
They could be better getting the football out. There's no doubt about it. But I think when you have an offensively challenged team, everything that Justin Fields had put on tape to this point suggests that he was a quarterback who was not going to consistently matriculate the ball down the field. We saw in the first half, their first two field goals, when they get into the red zone, things bog down. It's a similar problem for many young quarterbacks because the windows get tighter.
Yeah, the field shrinks.
And so you make them go yard by yard by yard down the field waiting for that mistake. To his credit, he didn't make the big mistake tonight, other than to play to Hayward.
And one other thing, T.J. Watt pointed out was that they had not seen a lot of designed runs.
No, he had not run the ball much at all. And they also hadn't seen the Wildcat stuff.
Yeah, and then they did all of that tonight. So when Tomlin and other players credited the Bears for their game plan and their effort here tonight, it didn't sound like the usual phony platitudes. Okay, the Bears came to play.
The Bears played their asses off.
Yeah, they were a 3-5 team that needed this W to get back on track. And the fact that they didn't get the result, I'm sure they're hooting and everything else.
Let's remember, they were a playoff team last year. And, this is a team that has guys that were in the playoffs last year and expected to be there again this year, I'm sure.
And a defense that looked like it, by the way.
Yeah.
When you see Najee going left for 0 yards, going right for 1 yard, and going up the middle for a -2, That's not an accident.
Yeah.
That's a team that's done that defensively
They
to
were
a
one
lot
of the best
teams.
defenses in football last year. Now, they hadn't played to that level this year, but they sure did this game.
There are still a lot of things that the Steelers have to work on. They can use this. I know nobody likes hearing this, but it's true. They can use this as a learning tool. They can use this. All right, here. We're going to do this and this and this and this, and we're going to focus on these things. In the past week of practice, they focused on not taking penalties. Guess what? They didn't. I mean, all the flags were getting thrown on Chicago, which I'm sure is what everybody's talking about in Chicago right now.
Stop lining up off sides.
Oh, and hang on. Before we let you go here, TJ, you get one more round of TJ here. This is TJ on the Bears being constantly offside.
I counted at least 5.
I think it helps when the tackles are getting out half a second early every play. I don't know what's going on with that. Seems like the tackles are leaving early on every single down, and we really can't do anything about it. So the home field advantage is kind of dead. So I don't know what to do about that. That always makes it a lot tougher for a pass rusher. Got to find ways to overcome.
Now I asked TJ after, what do you say to them? What do you do? And he goes, there's only so much, you can call their attention to it. He goes, but when it's every single snap, he goes, that makes your job as a pass rusher pretty tough. And all he does is end up with 3 sacks anyway. So that's kind of how that goes.
What he does.
That's kind of how that goes. We'll have more Steelers today coming at you this week. It's Steelers versus Lions right here in this same Yellow Bowl next Sunday at 1:02 p.m.